Microsoft Excel. Now, the series of videos that you will be learning from is all about how to copy and paste. Now, copy and paste is a very simple thing that we have used in Microsoft Office applications. But when it comes to Microsoft Excel, it's a bit different because you have a lot of different categories of copy and pasting. So the first category that we will be learning today is about transpose paste. So let's start today's session. Now, what is the meaning of transpose, right? Now think about it in this example. Let's say you have a data and you have your data arranged in columns and in rows. But you want to rearrange it and change the rows into columns and the columns into rows. How do you go about it? Well, here you will be using something called the transpose feature, which helps in rotating the data from rows and rearrange it in columns. Now, this is very important and this is mainly used when you have a smaller set of data or data that you want to rotate and see how the column and the rows are looking with that set of data. Because the moment you change it from the columns to rows, you will know that all your parameters that you have put it in the columns are going to be shifting to the rows, right? And all the other things will shift. Whatever was the data that was there, that was input in the cells itself in the rows, will shift as a column. That means the visualization of the data completely changes, right? So let's understand what transpose paste means. If the user wants to rotate the data in column and rearrange it in rows, they can use the transpose feature. It also helps in rotating the data from rows and rearranging in columns. So this works vice versa. Let's say you want to shift the rows data to columns, you have to use transpose paste. If you want to shift the column data into rows, you have to use transpose paste, right? So you can do it depending on what your requirement is. Now, there's something that you also need to understand is when you're shifting the data, how does a data look ideally? In your columns, you will have headings or the parameters of or the topics. For example, if you're taking a student survey, your column headings will be uh, name, age, address, uh, student class, section, which school, or let's say in the same school, which stream. Yeah, so you have all these data. Now you want them to be shifted to the column. That means all the data that is there in the rows will shift to the columns and the column data will shift as rows, right? Similarly, let's say if you want rows data to be shifted, for example, you want to see the number of classes happening in each subject, which is there already in the uh, rows because you have created a timetable of the class schedule. Then you can use transpose paste to make it into column data and all the columns will shift to rows. Okay. If the data includes formula, Microsoft Excel will automatically update them to match the new placement. User can switch between absolute and relative references before rotating the data. Now, if you have any formulas which has been, added in the data itself, it will automatically update them to match the new placement. Now, this is very important when you're working with large sets of data and you want that rotation thing to be happening. You don't want the formulas to get affected because you've computed and received certain results, right? So for that, you have to make sure that you are computing the data properly using the proper formulas for it. And then when you are changing it, making sure that the formulas have also updated, right? Because from if you have computed it in rows, it will be computed in columns now since we have used transpose paste as a feature. The table needs to be converted to a range by using convert to range button in the table tab. if you have a table, so you remember how we created a table, right? By adding borders and a set of data borders and cell styles and formatting has been done. If you want that needs to be done, then you have to convert it depending on the, depending on the range, and after converting it only, you will be able to use the transpose paste button. The next is to frequently rotate the data. It is better to create a pivot table. Pivot table is something that you will be learning in the next sessions. But if you are looking to frequently rotate the data, and if you want to rotate the data uh, using this, then it is always better that you use transpose paste, and also make sure that your data is in a pivot table format, right? So let's understand how to use transpose paste. So let's go back, and we will go back to this thing. So you remember we were working. Now, for example, I want to use transpose paste. Now, let me use this. Let me select this column. You do right click, and you will see there are paste options. The first is paste special, values, formulas, and then there's the transpose paste. The moment you see transpose paste is with arrow, there's a downward arrow, and then there is a rightward looking arrow. So click onto this, and you see all of this has already changed. So this part, which were all the columns have come, the column headings have come into the rows, right? And all your rows have turned into a column based data. You see how it looks right now? Now, here what you have done is you have made sure that all the data are looking, all the data that we were looking for have already been pasted as rows, as columns. For example, this whole thing was in a column format. Again, we will go, for example, let's say this is the one that we want to use transpose paste in. So select this, do right click, click onto the transpose paste. And when it says there's already data here, do you want to replace it? Make sure that you are reading this. Any warning messages that come where they might tell you that you might lose your data and all, make sure that you're reading it. And then you click on yes here. And you see this has already changed. So all your columns heading have shifted to the rows. Different rows have different headings now. And all the data that was there in the columns have shifted to have all the data that was there in the rows have shifted to the columns. So whenever you are using transpose paste, make sure that you're using transpose paste because you are rotating the data, right? Uh, for example, let's say I want to rotate this part of the data. If I go to transpose paste, see, again my data has changed. Similarly, you have to always be very careful when you're rotating your data because you would want to see how your data gets represented. Transpose paste is a very, very important feature in case you want to rotate the data and show them, the columns as rows and the rows data as columns, right? So making sure that you're applying this transpose paste, you will be able to be, you know, portray your data as the way you want it to be. Obviously, you visualize when you're presenting your data in a certain manner. You visualize how you want to present that data. Similarly, to present this data, what you need to do is making sure that you are looking into how this data will look if you are converting the rows to columns and columns to rows, right? Now, two things before we, we talk more about the other paste, copy paste features is that one, making sure that if you have a table, convert it to a cell range, right? That is very, very important. Don't use transpose paste in a table. Always convert your table to a cell range so that you are able to use the transpose paste option, right? The second is if you have a pivot table. If you have a pivot table, which we will be learning in the later session, you will be able to use transpose paste much more easily. Why? Because transpose paste will sort of help you in understanding how the whole formation looks like. So, and you can rotate the data in number of times without affecting the data. Yes, so that's there. The next thing is for the formulas, making sure that your formulas are properly updated once you're using transpose paste. So the one way that I would always say, if you're very cautious with the set of data and you haven't started computing it yet, if you want to shift it from rows to columns and columns to rows, always do the computation after you have used transpose paste here. In case you use transpose paste after you have computed, then make sure that you have actually updated all the formulas. The formulas have got updated and it looks exactly the way you want to visualize the data to be. But you have not missed out on any of your information and there hasn't been any information lost. Yes, so this is how transpose paste looks like. Now that you have understood about transpose paste, make sure that you visit support.microsoft.com to know more about transpose paste. Practice transpose paste before you apply transpose paste in any of your data documents, right? Take a small piece of data and start practicing about transpose paste before you're applying it to your main data sheets to see how it looks like, how the whole visualization changes. To learn more about Microsoft Excel, do visit microsoftlearn.com and finish a course on Microsoft Excel to earn a few extra credits. Thank you. Hello, welcome to Microsoft Excel session for the day. We have been learning the various features of Microsoft Excel. Till date, we have learned about the ribbon menus. We have learned about how to use the different features, the different formulas that we can use, the functions. In the past few sessions, we also learned about how to copy and paste data in Microsoft Excel using various paste features. Now we will be learning about the various printing features. We will be starting today with printing an Excel sheet with a page break preview and then printing a selected part only. Now, the reason behind learning this too or for printing is all of you know how to print a document. But Microsoft Excel specifically has features where it helps and simplifies your printing of a document. For example, whenever you're printing an Excel sheet, and let's say you have created a very good spreadsheet with all of the data and everything, and you start printing it, and then you realize that there's a mistake. Your pages are not proper, most of the data has spilled over to other columns and it's not coming in the way that you visualize the the printed document to be. What happens here is, one, you do not have the use of those pages, so you either have to throw it or have to recycle it. Secondly, your printing ink is also something that it gets wasted. Third of all, whenever you're printing this, again, you have to put your time, energy, and effort to again print that document. And this is a very time intensive process, right? Well, Microsoft Excel actually helps you in printing the pages in the way that you would want it. The first way is obviously with the page break. Now, you remember when we spoke about page break in Microsoft Word as well as in Excel sessions? that what is a page break. When you want to shift your content from one page to another page without using enter and keep on going inserting a new line, you basically use the page break function to insert a page break and shift your content into the next page. Now, this one does not hurt either the formatting of the page, and also it does not hurt how the pages are going to look like, right? And you know how your content has shifted. So let's learn how to insert a page break and use this page break preview. So we'll go back and we will go to the document. So let's say this is one of my pages that I want to use. So you remember this page, which is we have been using for our assignments. What I will do is I'll go to view, and you see our default mode is normal mode. So we click on the page break preview. Once we click on the page break preview, as you can see, it's already been divided into page 1 and page 2. Again, if we go back to normal, you're seeing right how the whole page is looking like. So let me increase this so that there's enough space. And then if we go to page break preview, you can see that this is page 1 and this is page 2. Now I'm going to scroll a bit because I want you to understand something here. For example, if you zoom in, you will see that there is a dotted blue line which is running right from the middle of the page, right? So you see this dotted blue line? That means this is bifurcating the page and making it look into page break preview. Now, if we go back, if we zoom out a bit, and you see this dotted line and you realize, no, I want this price section also to be here. What you can do is you select this line and you put it here. Or let's say you want to select this line and put it here. You can do that as well, depending on how you want your page 1 and page 2 look like, right? Now, for example, because you want this sort of a page layout, and this is what your required is, this is your page 1 and this is your page 2 after using the page break preview, go to File, go to Print. Once you go to Print, you see that there are active sheets. So what you can do is, let's say I just want to page active sheet. So you just want to print only page 1, right? And this is how your page 2 is looking like. Right? So you see how the whole document looks like. You know how many pages have happened. You know how the pages are going to look like, and you know how to use that. Now, most importantly that you should understand is this page break preview that you see, this whole thing, you should see the preview before you're printing it. Do not just print blindly because some documents needs to be printed. No, make sure that you are seeing how the document is looking like, because you do not want to again sit and print your documents again. No, what you want to do is you want to finish the printing of the documents and you want to submit it or check what is the report that you want to see, what is the part, how exactly is that document going to be useful to you. But always print, do a print preview before you're printing your document. That's something that you have to do it, right? Now, because my page break has been inserted here, doesn't mean I'm going to be losing any information. It just means that instead of spilling it over, I have decided that I'm going to use 2 pages to look at the data properly. Now, you can also make sure that whenever you, if you want, let's say this part not to be included and this is part 3, you can also change this and see how to insert a page break there. Yeah. So depending on your requirement, you can do all of these things. You can increase this as well if you want to. So see, this is what my page 2 will include and this is what my page 1 will include. Specifically, if your data is there in the normal format, not and you haven't used transpose paste here, I think then using a page break is more easy. If you've used a transpose paste here, I would say double check on the document, because then you will be able to see how much has to be printed, or how the whole layout looks like, right? So this is how you can use page break preview. Now let us go back and let us understand printing a selection bar. Now, when you are printing a big document, what happens is that because you're printing a big document, that means your data or the part that you want to concentrate on might get really lost. And you might be thinking how. So let's say you're printing a document, a data sheet, which includes about 100 to 200 sets of data. But there is only one part of that data that you want to focus on, or you want your target audience to focus on, right? And you have printed out that data. But the moment you print out that whole set of data, you are suddenly very confused to look for where exactly was that part of the data located. And most importantly, you won't be able to find that. It becomes very time intensive process to look and search for that data part, right? So what you should be doing is you select the small part to print. And how do you do that? Something that we're going to learn right now. So if you print a specific selection on a worksheet frequently, you can define the print area that includes just the selection. Specifically, let's say you have been working on a certain part and you want to check it by your team members, so you have taken a printout. You can first of all define that as a print area, because that is your most concentrated section. A print area is one or more ranges of the cell that you designate to print when you don't want to print the entire worksheet. What exactly is print area is, let's say the whole of worksheet will have data, but there is a designated area that you are working on. That part of the data, when you want to compute it, you select that whole section or the cell ranges and you print it. You can add cells to expand the print area, or you can clear the print area as well, yeah, to print the entire worksheet. Now don't apply selected part when you are printing, because if you're looking for the entire worksheet, then obviously you just need to normally print out the document. But if you want a selected part, always define that selected part. So let's understand how to use the selected part of the Microsoft Excel. So we will go back and we go to Microsoft Excel. For example, this is our page. Now I'll go to normal view here and let me select this part of the page. This is what I want to select. Yeah. Now what I will go do is go to file, go to print, and you see it's written print active sheets, right? Because there's no page break that is on. So what you can do is you can do print selection. So in the print itself, you will be able to see settings, and in the print active sheet, there's a drop down menu which you select, which you click on, and you get print selection. And you see the only the area which I have selected is getting printed here. Only the area that I have selected, the cell ranges that I have selected will get printed here. What happens then is, because I've selected a certain range, one, it's easier to work on that set of data then. Yeah, because you have been working on that, you want to look into it, you might want to review it, you can just take out that printed selection part. That selected part only you can print it out. Secondly, it saves your time and effort to figure out from that huge data sheet that you have printed in where is your exact data located. Because let's say your data sheet, even if you're printing, it will be about 10 sheets, 12 sheets, or even 5 sheets for that matter, depending on how much content is there. But in case you would want to print it out and want to check, okay, this is how the whole printing part looks, or this is how the selected part looks, you can always just print out the selected part instead of using a highlight and then printing it out and then, okay, this is the part I wanted to concentrate. No, your page will only have your selected part. The printed page that you have taken it out will only have that selected part. right? So this is where selected part is very, very important, and you can actually use it so that you can concentrate and your mind does not get deviated, or you don't start saying things that there's so many things in the document itself. You can just concentrate on that part. Now if you check into the settings, you see that there are different settings. One is the print active sheets, entire workbook, print selection. So active sheets is the sheet that you're working on, right? Entire workbook is like all. So let's say if you have 10 spreadsheets, the whole, along with the 10 spreadsheets, the whole workbook gets printed, right? Because workbook consists of spreadsheets. So however many spreadsheets are there will get printed. And then there is print selection. So every time you're printing a document, make sure that you are checking the settings from before itself. Obvious, there's collated to see if you want the document to be collated. There's portrait and landscape orientation, depending on your requirement, you can do that. Then there is page size, where there is tabloid, legal, statement, executive, A3, A4, depending on your requirement. Obviously, there is normal margins in case you want to put like margins in the document to see. For example, I put a wide margin here, and you can custom scale the document as well, right? So you see how the whole document looks like right now. To make sure that your document looks proper, it looks neat, it looks good, and most importantly, your information, the most important information does not spill out in other pages and all. You need to preview the document before printing it. It is very, very important for you to preview the document before you print out the document, right? So this is how the selected part printing looks. Now, to know more about how to print the selected area or set a selected area, and also how to use page breaks in Microsoft Excel, do visit support.microsoft.com to learn more about all of these features, and also more functions and more features that are there in Microsoft Excel. You will be able to access support.microsoft.com to learn the same. Also, please make sure that you are finishing a course on Microsoft Excel in Microsoft Learn and earning a few credits. Thank you. Hello, welcome to another session of Microsoft Excel. We have been learning about Microsoft Excel for quite some time. We learned about the different features, the different functions, the different formulas that are there. We have also learned about how to input data. We have learned about how to format cells, how to use a page break, how to use the different paste functions, and also learned about how to print a document. Right now, we will be learning about two other most features of Microsoft Excel. One, how to save your document in different formats. And second, how to protect your spreadsheet. So let's start our session for the day. So as you can see, we have been learning about saving Excel in different formats and also protecting Excel. Now, how do you save Excel in different formats? Users can save their spreadsheets or workbooks in different formats. For example, CSV, template, PDF, right? So you can actually save your spreadsheets in various formats. For example, you can use a workbook format, you can use a binary workbook or a macro enabled workbook. You can also, in case if it's a previous version that you are using, let's say a file has been sent to you using an older Office version, you can save it in the 97 to 2003 workbook format. There's a CSV format. There's an XML data, which is Microsoft Excel data itself. Single file web page, Excel template. As you can see that there are Excel templates. So you remember in the very beginning when we started Excel, I told you how you can create your own template. So obviously saving it as a template or a macro enabled template. Yeah. Then there is text, there is Unicode text, there is XML spreadsheet, again, Microsoft Excel 5.0 or 95 workbook, CSV format, formatted text, CSV in the MacBook. If you're using a MacBook, iPad, you can save it in that format itself. There's the MS-DOS format also. There's the data interchange format. There's a symbolic link. There is PDF, Excel add-in, XPS, etc. So there are a lot of different formats where you can save the document in. So let's learn mostly how you can save them. So we'll go back and go here. Now you see, I already want to save this document, right? So what I'll do is I'll go to Excel workbook and you see the different types of workbook in the different ways. So one of the most important ways is obviously saving it as a PDF format, because the moment you save it as a PDF format, you will be able to see the document in the PDF format itself. So then it opens in a PDF reader and not in an Excel format. Again, if you've shared, somebody has shared an Excel file with you and they are using an older version of Microsoft Office, right, or a Microsoft Excel application, doesn't mean that you won't be able to view their document. Obviously, you'll be able to view their document. What you just have to do is you have to make sure that you view the document in a uh, and you save the document in the 97 to 2003 workbook. The moment you save in a 97 to 2003 workbook, you will be able to exactly see the document the way it is, but in your own system. That means you do not need to open an older version of Microsoft Excel. You can see it in your latest version itself, right? Obviously, templates. You remember how we created templates at the very beginning of the session in Microsoft Excel? Well, you can save your documents in those predefined templates as well, right? So you can save it in the predefined templates. You can save it as a workbook. You can save it as a formatted text, then template, XML data. You can also make sure that you can saving it as a macro enabled workbook or as a binary workbook. You can even, if you are using a MacBook, you can save it in the Macintosh format as well. So Macintosh has a different CSV and a text format. You can save them in that format also. Then there is add-ins which are there. XPS documents are also there. There's an open XML spreadsheet and an open document spreadsheet as well. So you see there are different formats which are available, and you can also save your Excel as a web page. Just for instance, let's say you want to see how your data looks in a web page, you will be able to save that document also in a web page format. Yeah. So this is how it will look like. So to understand your Microsoft Excel, to save your Microsoft Excel, you do not need to convert it after saving the file. You can save the file in the required format that you, as per your requirement and the way you want it. The two most used formats are the CSV format is one, because a lot of people will be updating content, updating a list of data or details on their web page and all, and a lot of these websites, they only take CSV formats. So yes, CSV format is one of the most important formats that is required, and you might require to save the data in that format. The next is the PDF document as well. So PDF is also a very, very important format, and you can only open, like, you have your Excel sheet spread obviously, but it's a copy that you can open in the PDF reader as well, and also can distribute it, because then it's much more easier to use. So please, you can always save your document in several formats. What you can do is you can also go, and while saving your document, you can try checking which are the different formats which are available and how it can be beneficial for you. The next thing that we will be learning is how to protect your document. Users can prevent other users from viewing hidden worksheets, adding, moving, deleting, or hiding worksheets by protecting the Microsoft Excel with a password. Protecting the workbook is not the same as protecting the Excel file. Now, a lot of times when you're working with data, the data can be very different and very confidential and important for you. For example, let's say you're working on a population survey and then you have noticed certain patterns and all, and you are still working on it and you do not want to share it, or you do not want that information to leak. Or let's say, for example, you're working on a new product and you have already started thinking about the manufacturing and you know how it's going to roll out, what is the timeline look like, how the responsibilities are going to be and all those things. You do not want to share that with everybody, right? You do not want that information to go into the wrong hands specifically. Now, what happens is, let's say, if you protect your document, the documents which are very much important to you, which you only require, you can protect them with a password. Now, every time you add a password, Microsoft Excel, because this is an offline document, they won't remember the password like Microsoft Edge does. So it's always better that you remember the password or note it down somewhere which will be with you. Not you should not be keeping it out in the open. Okay, this is my password and you can open the document. No. The whole idea of applying a password and protecting your document is so that there is no information leak or information loss, right? To do that, you have to make sure that you are protecting your document properly. So let's see how to protect your document. So I'll go back and we'll go to this Excel sheet. Yeah. And once you go to review, you see there's a protect sheet. Now, what you have to do is if you click on protect sheet, you can only will be able to protect this sheet, right? Protect workbook will be different, but protect sheet is different. Again, you have to go to the review ribbon menu and then in protect, you will be able to see protect sheet. You can put a password here. Make sure allow all users of this worksheet to select lock cells, unlock cells. So let's say if you have locked and unlocked cells, format them. In case you don't want them to do anything, you can do that as well. But let's say this is only for you. You want this document. You can select all of them and make sure that you keep the password to yourself and work around it. Again, in case you want to share this password with only certain team members, you can also dedicate it to see how they will be using that file, right? How they will be looking into that file and all, you will be able to see that. So you have to make sure that you're copying and saving the document and putting a password on that you will be able to remember or you note it down. Second of all, that it should not be out in the open, that you should not keep your password everywhere just so that other people can access your information. Thirdly, making sure that whatever access you are sharing, you click on this dialog box. So see, they can format the cells if they want to, format columns if they want to, insert columns, insert rows. When you give them this, they will be able to do only this many functions, right? That's about it. They won't be able to do anything else. Whenever you're sharing your password with other team members, they will not be able to do anything else. They will only be able to do certain things. So this is how the whole thing looks like, right? Now, if you want to protect a workbook, what you have to do is you have to go here and you have to put a password. That means all the pages in the workbook will be saved. That means all the pages in the workbook will be saved. So you will be able to use the workbook in your own way, right? Again, if you're protecting a workbook, that means you're protecting the whole workbook, right? So that means all the spreadsheets that are included, all the worksheets that are included will be saved there. So protecting a sheet is different, protecting a workbook is different, right? Protecting a workbook means you are saving and you're protecting and password protecting the whole workbook. So all the spreadsheets in that workbook will be saved and protected. Again, if you're protecting a sheet, that means sheet wise you have to put a password. That is, let's say you have 10 sheets here, 10 sheets. If you want to protect them, or let's say 5 sheets, you are saving those individually 5 sheets and applying password there, right? So that you will be able to use it for your later use, or there is no information leak or information loss, right? So this is all about protecting the workbook. Now, for reference, please make sure that you are understanding how to save the Excel in certain formats and you're visiting support.microsoft.com. Yeah. Now for the assignment. For the assignment, you will again be opening the same data sheet and adding the data. After that, you will be using appropriate chart representation to figure out the sales price of various products. Filter the segment, only show the small business and enterprise market, and then do a chart, include a chart there. Also use a scattered chart to show the units sold. Now, for this two, specifically 1 and 2, you should be using recommended charts and seeing which chart is looking better, and you will be formatting the charts as per your requirement. Also, make sure that you format the cells and use cell styles and save the Excel document in a PDF format. Please make sure that you are saving the Excel document in a PDF format. So when and make sure that you whenever you're doing one task, you are clicking you're taking a screenshot of it. So appropriate chart representation is required. Use recommended charts. You can select any chart design from chart layout from the recommended charts, but make sure that it's appropriate. You are being able to show the data that you want to show. Filter the segments. Make sure that you're using the filtered uh, function to filter the segment part. Use the scatter chart because we have already learned about the dimension charts and all one dimensional and two dimensional charts, so you know how to use a scatter chart. Make sure that you're also showing the trending lines there, right? So hopefully complete this assignment and make sure that you're uploading all the screenshots in the portal. Thank you.